Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in front of our massive All the Mods 9 sky base. We have uh we have completed everything we're gonna do on this world pretty much. We are
Beat
still
the
gonna keep
game.
some bees running just passively on the server to see how many starry blocks we can get, but let's give y'all a little tour of our base. So we go right down here. We started with the cozy cottage right down here in the middle. And the Cozy Cottage has since been wiped out and replaced with mob farms. As you can see, all the mobs flying in the sky. Uh, got some Wildens, some Wardens, and then just a little bit of Cursed Earth down here, spawning a variety of different types of mobs. Then that goes into our barrel right here and gets pumped into our ME system. So we can use all of that if we need to. But let's give a little show of our ME system real quick. So this is our controller up here. We're we got a few cables coming out of here, but ultimately we didn't end up using the whole thing. It currently has 262 channels on it. If we open our ME system up, you can see inside we have hundreds of millions of all the different types of items we could ever need. If we wanted to, we could come in here and request a all the mod star autocraft. Apparently we're missing 33 coal for that. What a weird thing to be missing. I think it's because it's all being crafted into the Mobius fuel.
hmm
And then up here on the top floor is all the auto crafting setup for the AE2 system. We have our pattern providers and our molecular assemblers, our CPUs, our requesters, all that good stuff. So let's go back down to the bottom and we'll start with the first room that we built for automation, the sieve automation and the power automation. So there's a big old drawer system in here, and all of this is being processed with our integrated dynamics back here, including the making of soul sand and blackstone, using a little bit of create back here. And then this is our very first power setup. We use thermo generators from Power, and these are actually generating 9800 FE a tick right now. We actually never came back in here and replaced the blocks underneath, but they could go all the way up to, I believe, 18,000 FE a tick each. Oh. After that, we kind of moved on to some mystical agriculture production. So Nolan's going to take us over there, show us what he did with that.
Yeah, mystical agriculture is really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. We have all this hooked up to a nice XNet system. Having to use multiple drawers of all the water that these photogenic insulators use. I mean, they suck up tons of water. We have just about every seed you could think of, every seed we need going into one of these. Have a lot of different ones of them. We have an autocrafter over here making our phyto grow just to increase the output of these mystical agriculture seeds. All of the essences that just have like one craft to it, we have pumping into these autocrafters over here. And they just craft up to the respectable resource we need, have it in its own drawer system over here. Both of these drawer systems are hooked up to our ME system. So in case, for example, like this wood essence, we want to be able to have all the different kinds of woods. So we just have that hooked up to the ME system. We can craft it into whatever wood we need. This right here is just giving us all the XP we need with these XP seeds over here. Just pushing it straight down, putting in this experience crystal, have all the levels we'd ever need.
One other thing that I did want to point out about this room is we have some Insanium Essence, actually 130,000 in this drawer right here. And that is all coming into this crafter. And that is being pumped from this hyperbox right here. So if we hop inside, you can see this thing's growing really quickly. We have lily pads of fertility around the outside, and then there's also a couple lily pads with a time torch to speed up the tick acceleration underneath. and you can just see there's hundreds of essence coming in here every couple seconds. So that
One
really
thing,
allowed us to boost our production.
yeah, one thing to note about this room here, there is a way you could speed up the productivity just a little bit more, but we try to go with a little bit more lag friendly approach. So we're using the harvester pylon under there, which is a little bit slower, but it's probably the most friendly on the server.
Definitely. And then after that, what did we get into? I think really the mob farm came after that, even though we showed that first.
Yeah, it's just a nice little centerpiece. Hard not to show it first.
Yeah. We can show what we have our where we have our big reactors here. We
Yep,
have two of these. There's one here, and then one over there on the opposite side of the base.
they're just the same thing.
And if we open these up, they use uranium as fuel. It gets pumped into them, and then they generate power with that. We can turn it on, and it gets up to around 150,000 RF a tick. But we don't really need this anymore, so we just keep them turned off to save with the lag. So right here we have our hostile neural networks room. We have laser nodes operating this whole system, and they just have the various data models that we need inside, and those are running constantly. And then the data models go in here to produce our loot from the mobs. So like in this one, we have nether stars being produced. We get about one of those every couple seconds. And if we take a look in our ME system, you can see we actually have 310,000. So these things are working perfectly for that. Right over here across the hall, we have our create automations. There's not a whole lot going on in this room. I have some pattern providers set up so that if we need to make andesite casings or brass casings, it'll just put it straight into this deployer and click onto this strip log. And then right here is the precision mechanism automation. So if I actually go into our AE2 system and request one of those, you can see it happening. And this thing has to do it, I think, like 15 times. It goes across, the router sends it back, and then once it's complete, the router will actually send it back into the ME system. And just like that, the autocraft is done.
Fancy.
Then back here, this isn't really an automation. This is just used to craft our electric motors that we use to run the create in the base. And right outside here, we have our primary processing room for AE2. So any kind of autocrafts that we need to do with AE2 that require machines are in here. Each of these pattern providers has the patterns for that machine. So when you request something from the AE2 system, it'll put it in there. It'll craft it up real quick and then get sent right back into the system. And what do we got next? We just showed the mystical agriculture. Right here we have our mystical automations. So the infusion pedestals and altar, as well as the awakening altar and pedestals. These are all auto-crafted by the ME system, so if we needed I think a dragon seed is one of the ones that we have set up. We could come in here, click start. All of that's going to get put straight into here, craft up, and then it's going to go right back into our ME system. Server's got a lot going on right now. It lagged a little bit there.
It was trying. It was trying.
And we have our aldomodium, vibranium, and unobtainium automation. So we
These
have,
ain't insane.
yeah, these things are nice. We have our 3 laser bases. Hey, look, there's a dragon egg in here. There's some, we have our 3 laser bases with the various different blocks of that type of ingot using as a filter. And then the laser drills just increase the speed at which this runs. And then all of this gets pulled out by the modular router into this ender chest and then sent back over into that original sieve room to get processed. Then we have one of the later rooms that we built. This was when we were trying to get everything automated for the star. So here is where the star is actually crafted. We had to use an entity detector to lock the pattern provider when there's not a warden nearby. Otherwise, it would clog up the summoning altar and it wouldn't craft all the stars that we needed. And then over on this side is some R's crafting. For this one, we use this to craft the focus of summoning. And so that actually is going to take a while to craft, but it'll put all the items into these pedestals and then into the enchanting apparatus. And then the modular router will right click on that and complete the craft for us. And the reason this actually takes a while, if we go back up to our ME system area, and then we go through our secret tunnel. Don't look over there. That's for later in the video. Right here, this is where kind of all of our wireless A2 stuff is going down. So we have one ME wireless connector that's connecting somewhere else in the base. But the primary thing to do with that is the Warden box here. And so what actually happens here is we request for a Warden tribute, which is used to craft the focus of summoning from R's. Oh, it caught me in the fans. And then the ritual's automatically going to activate. Hopefully. There we go. And then the Warden Chimera gets spawned in and pushed straight into the mob crusher and gets killed. And the reason it takes a while is because he has these invulnerability frames. So it's just something that you have to wait a while on. But we can head back out of here.
I got
And
swept away.
then while we're here, we can go ahead and take a look at this other hyperbox for singularities. Now we could set this thing up to craft quantum entangled singularities like it is here. But what happens when we do that is they have different MBT data, so it'll actually clog up the system and we have to go cancel the craft even though they come back into the AE2 system. It just has a hard time recognizing that those crafts are completed. But you can also craft Oblivion shards using this crafter here, but you just auto request it from the ME system. So if I grab one of those real quick and request for that, it's going to take a minute because it's got to craft up all of these different items. But then it's going to drop the singularities in. Those are going to get pushed into here. And the craft really finished before I could even show you. But the crafter tier 1 is pretty quick. And it's a pretty simple setup. So let's head back out of here and go check out the next room. So right down here we have our bees. And Mr. Thickums right here, he actually set this bee room up primarily. So what do you got going on here, man?
Yeah, so I mean, we just have most of our most commonly used hives over here kind of clustered up just so they can share one pollinating block. This came in handy early on with the chaos shard. It's a pretty pricey pollinating block for these chaos bees that we have going. We also, all of these hives in here have the max omega productivity upgrades, 4 in each one. We have 8 different hives going for the chaos. We have some awakened supremium bees right here. We have a lot of the radioactive bees, the wasted radioactive bees, which you actually set up, and that's used for the what do you have that used for?
They give you the wasted combs, and then you get radioactive waste from that. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Gotcha. But yeah, all these they're just pushing out the comb blocks, which are being sent into these heated centrifuges over here. They're just being processed down from there and going straight into the store system, which is hooked into the ME system. Some less common ones we have over here was this otherworld wood, just to get it automated. There didn't seem to be a good way to automate it. This seemed to be the best, so I just went with one of those, making more than we'd ever need. And then over here is just some nothing really automated in this section, just some stuff I done for breeding some bees and incubating some bees. This was needed for the chaos bee because you have to squish down draconic bees to get their egg. A lot of complicated fun stuff with bees.
Yes, sir. Also, just wanted to point out how cool these garage doors are that we have on the corners of these rooms. These
There.
rooms we don't actually keep labeled because they're made out of glass, but these garage doors are real cool because they just flip up and down real quick, and the size is configurable, so you can make them 3x4 like this, or you could make them really as big as you wanted to. I'm sure there's some limit, but we have never hit that.
You want to hit up this fair here real quick?
Yeah. What do we got going on right here?
This is one of the occultism rituals we have automated. This ritual is actually needed for all the mod star, particularly which one was it? The dragon soul. You need the empty soul gem,
Yeah.
and basically, whenever you request an empty soul gem, the system the system puts all of it into all the ingredients into a barrel down there, which these laser nodes then put the ingredients into the sacrificial bowls, while this modular router is used to place the book of binding in there because you actually have to right click it as an entity essentially, or as like a person.
Yeah. And
So
this
that's what.
setup is real slow too because of the way that the modular router works. If we let it run constantly, it'll just pop the book back out and cancel the ritual. So we had to set up a timer on a redstone signal to activate that, which it just did.
Yep. So then you'll see the items and the sacrificial bowls just start to disappear.
We can give that a little bit of speed so we can see them disappear a little quicker.
And then it just gets sucked right back into the ME system. And we see the autocraft is finished.
Alright, what do we got down here? Let's skip over our trophy room for now. We'll come back to
Sure.
that in a little while. This is our big crafting CPUs. And these actually are only used for one thing, even though we have two of them. It's all the mod stars. So these were actually a 3 by whatever size height is now, 3 by 3 by whatever height. But I had to come back in here and make them bigger because when we started trying to craft, I think it was 18 stars to make the starry blocks. They just weren't enough. The starry blocks I want to say used close to 8 million bytes for the craft, so I had to come in here and make them bigger. But nothing should get past these now.
I'd hope not. They're massive.
Right here on the right side, we have a bulk mystical agriculture room. And this room has a very similar setup to the other mystical agriculture room. It's running phytogenic insulators to create the phyto grow, and that's being pumped back into all of these. And then the three primary things crafting in this room are redstone, gold, and iron. And the reason that we needed that is because I can't remember what the block's called, but we need compressed, I think it's 5x compressed gold blocks and 5x compressed redstone and 5x compressed iron. So it got really expensive, and that was our bottleneck for a little bit, but no more. Now we have millions of each of these blocks in our ME system. And if I pull it up real quick, the pulsating black hole is what actually uses it. So it uses the 5x gold, iron, redstone, and then it also uses obsidian, gravel, cobble, sand, dirt, and oak logs. Then right over here, across the hallway, we have our Enderman heads. Look up. You want to explain what we got going on in here, Nola?
Yeah, it's real simple. We just have an Enderman spawner with some upgrades on it, Apotheosis spawner. And, I say it's real simple, but it's actually not working right now. That's weird. Anyway, what's supposed to happen is this autocrafter crafts up the Enders, which is a sword from Ender.io. You have to kill Enderman with it to get the Enderman head. It's pumping the enders into this modular router, which then is killing the Enderman with that sword. And then it's supposed to filter the broken swords back into this trash can and push a new one back in it. It's set up to do that.
I wonder if it's because this one has a durability of 2.
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it just got clogged up somehow when the server crashed or something.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but it's supposed to spit out the broken ones back into the trash can, so it just keeps on going. And the output is all sent to this barrel. Real simple. Just getting rid of all the armor that drops from it using the void upgrades and making sure we keep all the Enderman heads. And the XP is going to this little experience crystal.
Oh, I gotta save the XP, man, everywhere we can.
Always.
And then right around here, we have a little bit of our magic, or I'd say the bulk of our magic in this base. So out here on the outside, we have our blood magic altars, and those are each running the Well of Suffering ritual, which attacks these witches and fills the altar up with blood. And the witches automatically heal themselves with healing potions, so we don't have to worry about them. And then so this blood altar puts the blood into the master blood orb, which adds to your life pool. And then that is used to actually run the Well of Suffering rituals, which is why we needed that one. And then this one over here is also running a Well of Suffering ritual. And it just processes the blood up into the various different types of slate that we need. So you can see we have the blank slate, the reinforced slate, imbued, and ethereal. Oh, and the demonic. I skipped over that one. And a lot of these were used in the craft for the stars as well. Then right in here in this room, we have our Botania set up. Some of this is automated, some of it's not. I tried to make sure I got everything that we needed for the star automated, like this runic altar here. Say we needed a rune of water for some reason. We can come in here and request for that. The ME system's going to drop all those items here, and then it's going to shoot the mana in. And once that completes, the modular router right back here behind it is going to right click it with the wand of the forest, and then that advanced item collector is going to pick the items up for us. All of our mana is coming from these wither aconites. These are the floating variant, just makes it easier to work with so you don't have to place them on grass. And then our logic cables here come in and drop a nether star every 5 minutes, I believe. And that just lets the wither aconites run and keep all of our mana full over here. And then the portal has not been automated, neither has the mana infuser, but we just didn't need that at the time, so we didn't worry with that one too much. What do we got over here? Plastic, latex, and pink slime. So this is a pretty simple room. So the plastic is actually made from the latex, so I'll show you the latex side first. This just has fluid extractors working on these logs here, and then underneath the logs is a modular router that's placing them. Because the fluid, as it extracts the fluid latex, it slowly breaks the logs, and then that pumps into this fluid tank here. And then this fluid tank is hooked up to the ME system with a storage bus so that we can access that for autocrafts. Then down here on this side, instead of pumping into a tank, it all gets pumped into this latex processing unit, which makes dry rubber. And then the dry rubber goes into the furnace to get smelted into plastic. And then our ME system can access this drawer here. Then the last one is right here in the middle. This has a mob slaughter factory. So when mobs spawn in here, the mob slaughter factory kills them. And then the liquid meat is just overflowing. But the pink slime, which is what we actually needed, is pumping out the bottom into this pink slime tank. And then there's also a storage bus on that for the ME system to access that. Then right here across the hall is the final gas for industrial foregoing. That's the ether gas. And that is just harvested from a wither with the laser drills like we did for all the modium and stuff. It actually needs a fluid laser base instead of a ore laser base though. And then that just places into this tank with another storage bus for the ME system. Then right here on this side, we have player aerial pearl automation. So whenever we need a player aerial pearl, I think we can just come in here and request for that. You click start. It sends the aerial pearl into this modular router, and then it right clicks on the zombie and turns it into a player aerial pearl, and then it gets sent straight back into the system. That's really all there was to that setup, right? Because you did that one.
Yeah, this is real simple.
What do we got here? You wanna kind of explain how you did your Draconic evolution setup?
Yeah, well, I could, but you did have to come in and help some. We kept getting backed up some. I'm not too sure what kind of fixes he made, but I know we just have this parent provider for these autocrafts that we need. The ones we've been using the most, of course, are the cores. We use them for about every Draconic evolution craft. Whenever you request for those, it just puts the items in the spruce barrel, and then this laser node pulls all the items out, splits it up between the crafting injectors from these laser nodes behind it, and puts the base inside of the fusion crafting core. Once it's done crafting up, it just gets pulled back out with the same laser node and gets sent back into the ME system. So we can here, let's see if we can show it in progress. Show it work. Set up an autocraft. All the stuff gets put in the spruce barrel.
What do we got auto-crafting right now?
Done a
Draconic
chaotic core. Yeah, it just needs some draconic cores to get the chaotic core.
Gotcha.
Basically, I know one thing we had to make sure is to prioritize what goes into the fusion crafting core to make sure they didn't get put into these crafting injectors. That's one issue I was having whenever I try to do it. But
Yeah, it's one thing that I did think about after we had all this set up is an easier way to do this could have been to set up so that the pattern has the ME system, the patterns actually go based on which one you place in the crafting grid first. So if you place the item that needs to go into the center here first, then set the priority, you wouldn't even have to do any filtering because it would automatically just pull the first item that goes into this and then split the other ones out to the other areas.
I got you. Yeah, I'm tracking.
But then the only other thing for this setup is this timer, and it's just got a 20-second, or not a 20-second, 20-tick delay. So it's just constantly activating this fusion crafting core to start the crafts. Then right here across the hall from there, we have our gas syringe and our witch vial automation. So these are two of the things that we needed for the star. The gas is getting whacked by this modular router with a syringe from RF Tools utility to fill it up with gas blood. And then right here on this side, I think that once we put in the feral flare lanterns, I don't know that I ever upgraded that one to ignore light levels, but when witches spawn in here, this modular router right clicks them with the soul vial that makes a witch soul vial, and you can see we have quite a few of those in the ME system right now. And then those witch soul vials get pumped out and put back into the interface. And he just upgraded it for us so you can see it work in real time. The next area is our Mekanism area, or part of the Mekanism area. This is where we have our fission crafter and as well as our supercritical phase shifter and our fuel production. So I'm gonna try to make this short and simple. I had these thermal evaporation towers originally set up to make sodium. That sodium was pumped into this reactor to fill it up. And then also there's the fissile fuel being made over here. It takes a variety of processes to get to the point to where it's actually usable. But then once you have it usable, you pump that into the reactor. And those are the two things that you need to get the reactor started. And at that point, you can click activate. And what's going to happen is this sodium is going to turn into superheated sodium and go into the heated coolant tank. And that's going to get pumped out into this boiler. The boiler takes this superheated sodium and turns this water into steam, and then turns the superheated sodium back into sodium. The sodium gets pumped back into the reactor, and the steam gets pumped into this turbine over here. It's currently on dumping mode. Most of the time you would not want this to be on dumping mode, but we don't have an issue with power anymore. So putting it on dumping actually allowed me to turn up the rate of the fission reactor so that we could get more nuclear waste out of here. And then that nuclear waste, we're actually going to have to go on a little trip to see where it gets processed because it needs sunlight. So right up here on top of our ME tower, the nuclear waste comes out of this entangled block, which is on one of the radioactive waste barrels. That splits it between the isotopic centrifuge and the solar neutron activator. And then that gets pumped, the solar neutron activator, and they both get pumped into these radioactive waste barrels and then sent back down. And I'll show you where that goes in just a second. But while we're here, I figured I'd go and show you. This is where the radioactive combs go from down there with the bees earlier. And these get pumped into the chemical oxidizers. And then from the chemical oxidizer, they just make more nuclear waste that goes into here and turns into polonium and plutonium. And to be able to make sure that we have this running 24/7, we have a little ritual set up here with one of these modular routers should have the thing in it, but it doesn't look like it does right now. Well, anyway, it should, there is a ritual of daylight, and what would happen is every time it becomes nighttime, this modular router would activate it, and then it would become daytime again. But for some reason, we're not keeping this full. I don't know what the reason for that could be, but it's not really an issue for us anymore. So once the plutonium and polonium come down through these entangled blocks, they go into these pressurized reaction chambers to make polonium and plutonium pellets, which go through these entangled blocks straight into this room over here to connect up to our ME system through the drawers. Then on this side we have our HDPE automation. It's a pretty simple setup. It looks complicated because there's a lot of machines, but you can just make your little tree through JEI and follow that when you go to play the game, and it just makes everything super simple. But basically the biofuel gets broken down into substrate, then the substrate gets broken down into HDPE pellets, and the HDPE pellets get enriched into HDPE sheets. These each have entangled blocks as well to connect them to that room over there. Then the other place that the radioactive waste goes is into the supercritical phase shifter. So it goes into here, and then you can actually see it. It's going a lot faster than it was since we added the bees. But it goes into here and then gets turned into antimatter. 1,000 millibuckets of polonium gives you 1 millibucket of antimatter. Then that antimatter gets sent back into this room, straight into the chemical crystallizer, And then once you have 1,000 millibuckets of antimatter in the chemical crystallizer, that'll make you 1 antimatter pellet. And then those are also connected with an entangled block to the drawer system. All right, so right here we have our trophy room. And inside this trophy room, we have our all the mods trophy on a pedestal. And then this is one of our sets of unobtainium armor before we got upgraded to mecha suits and the Draconic chaotic chestplate. And then over here on this side is where we have all of our creative items. So we have the creative spellbook from ours, the everlasting guilty pool for Botania, the creative source jar for ours. Then we have a creative energy cube pulling power out, creative energy cell we just didn't need this at this point, so a lot of these just ended up in here in the trophy room because they look cool. And then the creative motor from Create. And then right here on this pedestal is where we're going to place our compressed star blocks as we upgrade them. But those are going to come from bees, and we'll have to show you that setup in just a minute. But one thing I do want to point out real quick is this creative energy cube is being pumped out into our Draconic storage right here. So if you take a look inside, it actually says that it's full, but it's going to just keep going up because this thing can hold basically an infinite amount of power. And then also, if we stand right here on our balcony, there's a lot going on from here. You can see some cool stuff because you can see the mob farm, you can see that. Then if we look up, we can see the star on the ceiling. It's just a little all the mod star pixel art that I did. And then we can finally go over to our starry bees
tunnel.
through the secret tunnel, indeed. So right here is where we have our starry bees and our Patrick bees running. So if I open this up, I can show you. We got 2 starry bees right now and 5 Patrick bees. These pump out into the heated centrifuge back there, which processes into these drawers. And then we're actually, hold on, let me just speed this up so y'all can see. We'll give that 256 times speed. We'll give this one an 8 times speed and this one an 8 times speed. And then here in just a second, once these get done processing, the last few shards are going to get placed in. Let's see, how are we looking? Here, I'm just going to grab these out manually and place them in this drawer to speed up the process. And now that those are in, it's going to craft us a star. And we're just going to leave this system running to see to what degree we can get all the mod star blocks compressed. In the quest book, there actually is a quest for a 9x. I don't think we'll ever get to that point. We're probably never going to get to that point, but we are going to take it as far as we can while we still have the server up. But I think that's really all there is to our base.
Yeah.
If
One
you
thing that helped us out quite a bit, I would say, all these potions we got on the right actually came on real early on, which helped just speed us through lots of things. That's something real simple we got from the mob farm, is those ability totems. Just want to mention those.
Yeah, those are real nice.
Yeah, these ability totems came in so much clutch early on. I mean, we're like superheroes with all the different buffs we got going on.
Yeah, I mean, like we can go out, take all of our armor off, and 3-shot an Enderman with our fists.
It's pretty ridiculous.
And
Just
then,
wanted to throw that out there.
yeah, that's a good shout. Let me think. All right, so I think this is really all we have to show. But if you do want to see maybe a more in-depth tutorial of some of this stuff, because we kind of just gave a brief overview of how it all worked, let us
Yeah.
know down in the comments section. We'll try to get on that. And we really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop down, leave a like, and subscribe. And goodbye.
Goodbye.